contracting officers do want to talk to you. They do want to talk to you, often just not when you want to talk to them.
Can I say something about that, Judy? I agree with
You
you.
may.
It's interesting, and Judy asked me about the making the initial call. So I remember on another story, and calling them and calling and calling and calling, and finally, when they needed me, they called me more than I called them.
How about that?
But, I mean, they would
Yeah.
call me at night. They would call me on the weekends because it was the
Mm-hmm.
end of the fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to get a project pushed through, and they
But that
called
happened because you made all those calls in the slow part of the year when
in
they
a slow
weren't
part of the
buying.
year. I
There
yes.
you go. So we're still kind of in I love the idea of ecosystem. I take those of you who might follow some of my social, you may realize that I take Friday afternoons off. This is not because I lollygag. And so what if I did?
Can we
But
plug your
I,
social? Are you talking about it?
oh,
Make sure you follow
I,
Judy everywhere she's at. Okay.
it just
Just
I'm there are there's usually just two platforms I'm on with any regularity.
whatever.
One
Follow
is
her.
LinkedIn for sure. All right, so you can
Okay.
connect with me on LinkedIn, say Govcon Giants, or say tell me about yourself in the LinkedIn connection note. Not
Yeah.
going to know where you came from. I answer the connection request. You tell me who are you and tell me a little bit about yourself. Those are the connection requests that I accept first. Uh,
If
but
you say GovCon Giant, she'll accept you.
yeah, I will. I will. And so the thing, I ended up because pandemic is kicking us all in the head. It just is. We can say you call up someone, how you doing? I'm fine. No, nobody's fine. Let's take a second. How are you really? Well, I'm tired all the time. Well, I don't sleep all that much, even when I try to sleep all that much. And I have a new relationship with gelato that I know is not healthy. Whatever that thing is. But I had realized sort of intellectually in April or May last year that it was really my kind of the lights were dimming on my machine. I was just kind of getting chronically completely drawn down. But it wasn't until last October that I realized when I had a Friday afternoon when I spent 4 hours on a 4 item to do list, not doing the 4 item to do list. I spent 4 hours trying to write down a 4 item to do list and was not capable of writing four things on a list. I said, fine, we're done. Friday, noon, I am finished. And I'll go out walking with one of my bubble mates. We'll go out for a hike someplace. And it just ends up rejuvenating me. It's just really, really valuable. And it's just important to know when to stop, to have that time to refresh, to get away, to have some other perspective. And it may be that your federal buyer has to do that too. Maybe that's part of why you can't reach them. It's okay. So I want to encourage folks to take some good self care as well. It's just really, really important. But if you follow me anyway on LinkedIn, you'll see some of I post a video on Sunday nights. It'll just be 30 seconds, no ads, no links, no nothing. It's 30 seconds of bliss of wherever it was that I was. Um, and thank you for putting my LinkedIn in there. I think
Yes.
Heather may be back with the other thing, but for
If
sure,
Heather's right.
remember that your federal buyers want wins as much as you do. But you have to figure out what does a win look like for them. And the win is not necessarily the big, huge honking thing on September 28th, but we all need momentum. We all need those little signs of progress. And so, challenge number one that we laid out there was looking up FAR 15.201. Challenge number two was get your email act together with your domain. And I'll lay out another thought piece, another challenge if you're here, that try to think about what a win would look like. A small sign for your federal buyer that they're making progress toward their goals. What might a goal look like? What might an encouraging sign that their year is going well look like for a federal buyer? Eric, think of one. What might that be? What might that be?
A win for a federal buyer for them.
Yeah, not the big contract award, but
No, no,
what
no.
might a win look like
I
in
tell people
any federal human
if they
space?
if they can get capabilities briefing, that's a win.
Yes, that's
I
that's
tell
a
my people
milestone.
I go, that's a
I
win.
thought I talk about a milestone. That's right. So we think that we're conditioned to think about wins as contract awards.
No.
And I want you to dial back your sense of wins. You think about it to, and we'll do more about this another time, but dial back your sense of wins to the signs of life. Signs of life, that some sign that there might be some possibility that something could come of that relationship at some point. You have just the faintest sign. You have to be alert for those and notice where they are and where they're not, and spend more time in the places where they are. But you have to have your sensors really finely tuned. Or I love this story. I was teaching a small group program a few years ago, and I got this panicked voicemail from Barbara. And Barbara said, I can't believe it. This is the most awful thing. I just don't know what to do. I did everything you told me. And look at this email that I got from the contracting officers. We are not responding to industry for questions from industry at this time. I was a source of thought. I was just writing to follow up. And look, now it's over. I've really screwed it up. I don't know what. It's Barbara. Barbara, breathe. Barbara, congratulations. First of all, you have got something that people would love to have. Eric, what was it? What did she have?
I don't know. I missed it. What do you mean? What did she have?
She thought she had just completely dashed her chances of ever being successful. But why would I congratulate Barbara?
Well, didn't she respond?
She got a response from the contracting officer. There's a sign of life. He wrote back to her. Oh my goodness. How many would love to get any kind of response from a contracting officer?
People
How awesome
all
is
the time.
that? It's
All the
Barbara.
time.
This is great. It's a sign of life. He didn't say, go away, don't darken my door. I'm
Right.
going to report you to the authorities. No. He said, we are not responding to questions from industry. That's okay. Thank you so much. We're just trying to follow proper protocol. When might be a good time to get back in touch?
Right.
It's the dance. You're in touch. It's a touch. It's a touch back. You are in touch. It's a rhythm. It's a dance. Dance the dance.
I like that. I like that. It's a dance. It's a rhythm.
It is. She made contact. Yeah, exactly. So
I like
all
that.
of you now understand a little bit more about what do those daily wins look like? Because if somebody doesn't know you, has never done business with you, they're going to, and I think there's some disagreements out in the marketplace on what does a win look like? What should we aspire to? And your federal buyer has a ton on the line. If you're looking for $1 million win, the $1 million wins very rarely. Now tell me if this is true, Eric. It is rare for $1 million win to get awarded sight unseen to somebody that a buyer only knows through paper and they've never heard from before. And it's just a first time award out of nowhere. Honestly, how often does that happen?
I
A
don't
$1 million
have
award, boom.
I don't
You
have
might have
I
done
don't
it, but
have
not
yeah.
often, does it?
No, never, 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 no.
No. These big things are possible, but not only do they not happen right out of the gate, but think about it for a minute. All right, here's another. I love another quiz. All right, I want everybody to put in the chat how big a federal contract award would you love to get? It would be perfect for you. I'm the federal contracts fairy. I'm going to award you the contract of your dreams. What is that contract worth? Right now, put the number in the chat. What's the contract worth? Now, as you put the numbers in the chat, and I know we have a lag here, so I'm going to watch for these numbers. Everybody, imagine here we are. I'm the federal contracts fairy. I'm going to award you the contract of your dreams. If there's an if. You ever know that fairy tales have an if, a catch? They do, don't they?
Yeah, do something.
Okay, so I'm going to award you the contract of your dreams if you have the stuff, the staff, the space, the servers to do it right now. Not next week or, we'll win and I'll borrow money from my brother-in-law and we'll rent a space. And how much faith do you think the contract, does that look not risky? Does that look really safe to a contracting officer?
Right.
Not so much. So if I love these numbers, these are really important numbers though. Okay. So keep writing the numbers, but I'm going to want to go back and say that the size of contract that you're most likely to win in the shorter term. Remember, your federal buyer wants to see that you've solved their problem for someone who looks just like them yesterday afternoon. Oh, and you've done it 25 times already in the last 2 years.
Mm.
So the size of the thing that you are most likely to win, I want you to imagine now you had a graph, a normal distribution curve where the
Okay.
value of all the contracts you've delivered, there's that big bulge in the curve. So the median value, that middle of the value of most of the kinds of contracts you've got, that's the one, that's your sweet spot. A project that looks like that is probably the one that's going to leave your federal buyer. No bigger than that will leave them feeling really comfortable.
Okay.
Okay. But you may have to start with the one out on the tail end, the little guy,
Mm-hmm.
which the good news about micro purchases, there's everything honorable about a micro purchase. And here's why. You can then, what do you have besides $9,500 in the bank, Eric? What else do you get
You
besides
get past
9,500?
performance.
Yes. And past performance begets more past performance. That is why, that's the magic of why you got your call return, right? So
Mm-hmm.
always, always be willing to start small and be persistent. When you start small, that also says to your buyer, I get you. I understand we are getting to know each other.